Are you tired of an operating system that treats you like the product instead of the customer? Over 1.4 billion people run Windows 11 today, and most have no idea how much data their computer sends to Microsoft every single day. Every click you make, every file you open, every website you visit gets logged and transmitted. But here's the thing, you don't have to accept it anymore. In 2026, Linux has become easier to use than ever before, and switching might be simpler than you think. In this video, I'm showing you 5 Linux distributions that will restore your privacy, speed up your computer, and put you back in control. These aren't obscure, complicated systems. They're polished, modern operating systems that anyone can use. Let's start with number 5, Qubes OS. This is Linux for people who take security seriously. Qubes uses a unique approach called compartmentalization. Everything you do runs in isolated virtual machines. Your work apps operate in one sealed environment, personal browsing in another, and banking in a third. If malware infects one compartment, it cannot reach the others. This architecture makes Qubes the most secure consumer operating system available. Here's how it works in practice. When you open Firefox for personal browsing, it runs in a red-labeled virtual machine. Open Firefox for work, and it runs in a blue-labeled machine. These environments are completely separate. Even if a website exploits a browser vulnerability in your personal browsing session, the attacker gains access only to that one compartment. Your work files, your banking passwords, your private documents remain untouched in their separate compartments. Security researcher Edward Snowden has publicly endorsed Qubes as the system he trusts for his work. The latest version, Qubes 4.2, released in December 2023, includes improved hardware compatibility and a more streamlined setup process compared to earlier versions. The trade-off is complexity. Qubes requires more powerful hardware than typical distributions, at least 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a recent processor with virtualization support. The learning curve is steep. You'll need to understand how virtual machines work and manage multiple compartments for different tasks. But if you handle sensitive information, whether that's confidential business data, legal documents, journalistic sources, or personal files you absolutely cannot risk exposing, Qubes delivers unmatched protection. This isn't a daily driver for casual users, but for anyone who needs genuine security, it's the gold standard. Number 4, Tails. This distribution takes a completely different approach. Tails is designed for anonymity above all else. It runs as a live operating system from a USB stick, which means it leaves zero trace on any computer you use. Every time you boot Tails, you start with a clean slate. Nothing is saved unless you explicitly configure persistent storage on your USB drive. All internet traffic automatically routes through the Tor network. Tor bounces your connection through multiple relays around the world, making it extremely difficult to trace your activity back to you. When you visit a website through Tails, your request goes through at least 3 different servers in different countries before reaching its destination. Each server only knows the one before and after it, never the full path. This makes tracking nearly impossible. Tails includes encrypted email clients, secure messaging apps, and tools for removing metadata from files before you share them. When you take a photo with your phone, it embeds metadata like the date, time, location, and device model. Before sharing sensitive images, Tails can strip all that information. Journalists in surveillance states use Tails. Political activists working in authoritarian regimes rely on it. Whistleblowers communicate through it. The major limitation is that Tails isn't built for everyday computing. You can't install traditional software. Gaming is impossible. Resource-intensive tasks run slowly because everything operates from a USB drive. But when you need maximum anonymity, when your physical safety depends on your digital privacy, Tails provides protection that no standard operating system can match. It proves what's possible when privacy is the absolute first priority instead of an afterthought. Number 3, Fedora Workstation. This is where we transition from specialized security tools to practical daily computing. Fedora offers a balance between cutting-edge features and reliable performance. Sponsored by Red Hat, one of the largest open-source companies, Fedora serves as a testing ground for technologies that eventually make it into enterprise Linux systems used by governments and Fortune 500 companies. Fedora updates every 6 months, giving you access to the latest software versions much faster than distributions like Ubuntu that prioritize long-term stability. The desktop environment is GNOME, which provides a modern, clean interface that feels nothing like Windows but is intuitive once you spend an hour learning it. Instead of a traditional taskbar, GNOME uses an activities overview where you can see all open windows and search for apps. It takes adjustment, but many users find it more efficient once they adapt. Fedora includes security technologies like SE Linux, enabled by default. This is mandatory access control that restricts what programs can do, even if they're compromised. If malware gets onto your system, Linux limits the damage it can cause by preventing it from accessing files and system resources outside its designated permissions. Privacy controls are transparent and robust. Fedora collects no telemetry. Every piece of software is open source and auditable. Anyone can examine the code to verify it does what it claims. Package installation uses DNF, a command line tool, but the Software Center provides a graphical interface for users who prefer point-and-click simplicity. You can install thousands of applications with a single click. Development tools come pre-configured, making Fedora popular among programmers. Fedora works well for developers, creative professionals, and tech enthusiasts who want something more advanced than beginner distributions but don't need the extreme security of Qubes or Tails. Number 2. Linux Mint. If Ubuntu is the beginner-friendly option, Mint is Ubuntu perfected. Built on top of Ubuntu's foundation, Mint focuses obsessively on user experience. The desktop environment, called Cinnamon, deliberately mimics the Windows layout. You get a taskbar at the bottom, a start menu in the corner, a system tray, and window controls exactly where Windows users expect them. This design philosophy makes Mint the easiest transition for anyone leaving Windows. You can find programs, manage files, and configure settings without learning an entirely new interface paradigm. The learning curve is almost non-existent. If you've used Windows, you can use Mint immediately. Mint comes with pre-installed software for productivity, including LibreOffice for documents and spreadsheets, which is compatible with Microsoft Office files. You can open Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, and PowerPoint presentations without any conversion issues. Media codecs are included out of the box, so videos and music play immediately without hunting for additional software. This is a major pain point on some Linux distributions that require manual codec installation due to licensing restrictions. Mint handles this for you during installation. The Mint team has explicitly committed to user privacy as a core principle. The distribution collects zero telemetry. Nothing about your usage leaves your computer unless you actively send it somewhere. Updates are managed through an intuitive update manager that clearly explains what each update does and lets you control when and how updates install. You can see security updates separately from feature updates, choose which to install, and even delay updates if you're in the middle of important work. This level of control is impossible in modern Windows, where updates install whether you want them or not. Mint also offers excellent community support with detailed documentation and forums full of helpful users. For someone who just wants their computer to work without surveillance, without complexity, and without hassle, Mint is the answer. Number 1. Ubuntu 24.04 LTS. This is the entry point for most people switching to Linux, and for good reason. Ubuntu is the most popular desktop Linux distribution, which means it has the largest community, the most extensive documentation, and the best hardware compatibility. When you run into problems, and you will occasionally, there's a massive community ready to help. The LTS designation stands for long-term support. Ubuntu 24.04, released in April 2024, receives 5 years of security updates with an option to extend to 10 years through Ubuntu Pro, which is free for personal use on up to 5 machines. The interface uses GNOME desktop environment with Ubuntu's customizations. It's clean, modern, and functional. The dock on the left side shows your favorite applications. You can search for apps and files by pressing the Super key, which is the Windows key on most keyboards. Installing software is straightforward through the Ubuntu Software Center, which works like an app store. You search for what you need, click Install, enter your password, and it handles everything. You can also use snap packages, which are containerized applications that run isolated from your system for added security. If a snap application gets compromised, the damage is contained within that container. Ubuntu includes privacy-focused defaults. During installation, it asks if you want to send anonymous usage statistics to help improve the distribution. The request is clear and honest about what data would be sent. If you say no, it respects that choice completely. No hidden data collection, no required diagnostic reporting, no advertising IDS tracking you across applications. Hardware support is excellent. Ubuntu works on most laptops and desktops without driver hunting. Printers, Wi-Fi cards, graphics cards generally work out of the box or with minimal configuration. This is a huge advantage over Windows, where you often need to hunt down specific drivers from manufacturer websites. Gaming on Ubuntu has improved dramatically thanks to Valve's Steam Deck, which runs on Linux, and Proton Compatibility Layer, which lets you run many Windows games on Linux without modification. Major titles like Elden Ring, Cyberpunk 2077, and thousands of others work seamlessly. Companies like Dell and Lenovo sell computers with Ubuntu pre-installed, which means you can buy Linux laptops with manufacturer support and warranty coverage. Ubuntu strikes the perfect balance for most users. It's beginner-friendly but capable of advanced tasks. It has strong privacy protections without the complexity of specialized security distributions. The massive community means every problem you encounter has probably been solved and documented already. For someone taking their first step away from Windows surveillance, Ubuntu provides the smoothest path forward. So why does any of this matter? Why should you consider leaving Windows at all? Because the operating system you're probably using right now has become a surveillance platform. Microsoft expanded data collection dramatically in Windows 11. The company calls it telemetry, marketed as essential for security updates and system improvements. But when security researchers analyzed what Windows actually does, they found something far more invasive. In August 2024, the PC Security Channel used network analysis tools to document every connection a fresh Windows 11 installation made during first boot. Before any user activity occurred, Windows attempted to connect to dozens of external servers, including Microsoft telemetry endpoints, third-party advertising networks, and tracking services. Multiple independent analyses confirmed similar findings. Even with all privacy settings disabled, Windows 11 still transmitted data to Microsoft. Researchers documented connections that couldn't be blocked through user-accessible controls. What's being collected? Your computer's advertising ID tracks you across apps and websites. Detailed app usage shows which programs you open and for how long. Network information includes IP address and Wi-Fi networks. Device fingerprinting creates a unique hardware profile. Browser history, typing patterns, activity logs, location data, voice recordings, and microphone permissions all flow to Microsoft. PC World identified 7 major data collection categories in July 2024. XDA developers found telemetry transmissions happen more frequently than in Windows 10. Microsoft classifies some telemetry as required, meaning you cannot fully disable it. Even the most restrictive setting allows certain data to flow. Privacy regulators responded. The UK's Information Commissioner's Office contacted Microsoft regarding Windows Recall, a screenshot feature that would capture everything on screen every few seconds. While delayed after backlash, the inquiry highlighted broader data collection concerns. GDPR requires clear lawful basis for processing personal data minimization, transparency, and freely given consent. Windows 11's default on telemetry raises compliance questions. The human impact matters. Consider a journalist researching a sensitive story. Windows logs every document, every source communication, every search query. If their device is compromised, sources could be exposed. A domestic violence survivor researching escape options has all that activity logged. If their abuser accesses their device or Microsoft account, that history reveals their plans and location. A therapist taking patient notes has Windows tracking, which files they open and for how long, creating metadata that raises confidentiality concerns. These are real risk categories identified by security researchers. Anyone handling medical records, legal documents, financial data, or confidential business information faces exposure when their operating system logs everything. Microsoft made some changes after criticism. Windows Recall became opt-in instead of default on. They added encryption and biometric requirements. But security researcher Kevin Beaumont's analysis in 2024 showed fundamental privacy concerns remained. The feature still creates a searchable database of everything you do. The broader telemetry system continues largely unchanged. Most Windows 11 users still have diagnostic data collection enabled by default. You can minimize Windows tracking. Go to Settings, then Privacy and Security, then Diagnostics and Feedback. Toggle off Send optional diagnostic data. Under Activity History, uncheck Store My Activity History on this device. Disable Advertising ID and App Launch Tracking under General. These steps reduce but don't eliminate telemetry. Advanced users can use Group Policy Editor or Registry modifications, but these require technical knowledge and risk system stability. Third-party tools like O and O Shutup 10++ offer more comprehensive blocking. But here's the fundamental reality. Even with every privacy tool installed and every setting disabled, Windows 11 maintains baseline telemetry that Microsoft classifies as required. If you want true privacy, you need an operating system designed with privacy as its foundation, not as an afterthought. That's what these 5 Linux distributions provide. Ubuntu and Mint offer easy transitions with familiar interfaces and massive community support. Fedora bridges the gap to more advanced capabilities. Tails delivers anonymity when you need it. Qubes provides maximum security for sensitive work. All of them are open source, meaning the code is public and auditable. All of them give you complete control over what data, if any, leaves your system. All of them prove you can have modern functional computing without surveillance. Your operating system should be a tool that works for you, not a surveillance platform that monitors you. Windows has made its choice. Now you can make yours. If you found this valuable, hit that like button. Share this with anyone tired of being watched by their own computer. Subscribe for more content about technology and digital privacy. Thank you for watching.